The first ships appeared on a Monday. They came without warning, massive dark shapes blocking the stars. By Tuesday there were hundreds, by Wednesday thousands. They formed a perfect circle around Earth, just beyond the moon's orbit. Admiral William Foster stood at the wide window of the Lunar Command Center, his face grim. At 62, he had spent his life in service to the United Earth Defense Force, but nothing had prepared him for this. The alien fleet was unlike anything humans had ever built. Each ship was at least 3 times larger than Earth's biggest vessel. "Admiral, we have the final count," said Commander Olivia Martinez, walking up beside him. She was Foster's second in command, a woman known for staying calm even in the worst situations. 3,217 alien vessels, sir." Foster nodded slowly. Earth had only 200 ships in its defense fleet. They were good ships with brave crews, but the numbers were clear. This was not a fight they could win by normal means. "Any response to our messages?" Foster asked. "None, sir. They're just waiting." The large screen behind them showed the Earth, beautiful and blue, now surrounded by the alien ships. The sight made Foster's stomach tight with worry. 7 billion people down there, all depending on him and his team to protect them. "Sir, we're getting something," called out the communications officer. "They're sending a message." The main screen changed, showing the face of what could only be an alien. It had gray-blue skin, 4 eyes set in a wide face, and no visible nose. When it spoke, the words came through in perfect English, though its mouth moved strangely. "People of Earth, I am Admiral Zarthul of the Krell Dominion. Your planet is now under our control. You have 72 hours to surrender. If you resist, we will destroy your world." The message ended, leaving the command center in silence. "Get me the Security Council," Foster said after a moment. "And someone find Dr. Right, we need her here." 3 hours later, Foster stood before the emergency meeting of the United Earth Security Council. Representatives from all major nations were present, either in person or through secure video links. Fear was visible on every face. "The aliens call themselves the Krell," Foster explained. "Our intelligence shows they've conquered 17 other civilizations before reaching us. They follow the same pattern each time. Complete surrounding of the planet, demand for surrender, then either peaceful takeover or total destruction." "Can we fight them?" asked the representative from Russia, her voice steady despite the situation. "Not directly," Foster admitted. "Their weapons are far beyond ours and they outnumber us 15 to 1. Worried voices filled the room until the council president called for order. "Then what options do we have?" asked the president, an older man, with thick white hair. "Do we surrender and hope for mercy?" "Actually, we may have another option," said a new voice. All eyes turned to the woman who had just entered the room. Dr. Samantha Wright was the head of Earth's Advanced Physics Division. Her team had been studying the alien ships since their arrival. "Dr. Wright, please share your findings," Foster said, gesturing for her to take the floor. Wright walked to the center of the room, her movements quick and sure. She was in her 40s with short brown hair and intelligent eyes that missed nothing. "The Krell ships give off unusual energy readings," she explained, bringing up data on the main screen. "My team has been analyzing them non-stop. We found something interesting." The screen showed complex energy patterns that meant little to most people in the room, but Foster could see that Wright was excited about something. "They use quantum fields for communication between ships," Wright continued. "It's incredibly advanced technology, but it has a weakness. These fields are sensitive to certain electromagnetic frequencies." "What does that mean for us?" asked the representative from China. "It means we might be able to disrupt their communications," Wright said. "Not destroy them, but confuse them." The council room grew quiet as everyone considered this. At that moment, Intelligence Officer Jack Reynolds entered the room carrying a data pad. He walked quickly to Foster and handed it over. "Sir, you need to see this." Foster looked at the information and then passed it to Wright, who nodded as she read. "What is it?" asked the council president. "Reports from our undercover agents on other worlds the Krell have conquered," Foster explained. "The Krell always follow the same battle plan. They never expect serious resistance after showing their full force. They rely on fear as much as their weapons. They've never been beaten, Reynolds added. Not once in their recorded history. They don't know how to handle defeat. General Catherine Summers, head of Earth's ground forces, had been quiet during the meeting. Now she stood up. If I may, I think I see where Dr. Wright is going with this, she said. We don't need to beat their fleet. We need to make them think they've already won. Wright smiled for the first time. Exactly. Foster looked around the room. Hope was beginning to replace fear on some faces. It's risky, he said. If it fails, they could destroy us immediately. And if we surrender? Asked the representative from Brazil. What happens then? Based on reports from conquered worlds, they'll take over our governments, strip our resources, and use our people as labor, Reynolds said. Those who resist are eliminated. The council president stood up. Then it seems we have no choice but to try Dr. Wright's plan. What do you need? Wright looked at Foster, who nodded for her to continue. We need to adapt our satellites, modify Earth's power grid, and prepare a special team for a very unusual mission, she said. And we need to make the Krell believe we're getting ready to surrender. How long will these preparations take me? Asked the president. Wright checked her data. If everyone works together, we can be ready just before their deadline. Then let's get started, Foster said. We have less than 70 hours to save our world. As the meeting broke up, Commander Martinez approached Foster. Do you think this will work, sir? She asked quietly. Foster looked at the image of Earth on the screen, still surrounded by the Krell fleet. I don't know, he admitted. But I do know one thing. Throughout history, humans have always been at their best when faced with impossible odds, and right now we need to be at our very best. Martinez nodded, her expression determined. I'll start organizing the defense teams. Good, Foster said. And Martinez? Yes, sir? Make sure everyone understands. This isn't about winning a battle. It's about outsmarting an enemy who thinks they can't lose. As Martinez left, Foster turned back to the window, looking out at the stars and the massive alien ships that now blocked so many of them from view. Somewhere out there was Admiral Zarthul, waiting for Earth's surrender. The Krell were going to be very surprised. While the Krell waited for Earth's surrender, humans worked around the clock on their plan. In the main laboratory beneath Geneva, Dr. Wright led a team of the world's best scientists. They had named their plan Operation Phantom, and time was running out. The Krell quantum fields operate on these specific frequencies, Wright explained, pointing to a complex diagram. If we can generate the right interference pattern, we can manipulate what they see and hear. Lieutenant George Hamilton, a communications specialist with 20 years of experience, nodded as he studied the data. He was a quiet man with thick glasses and hands that moved with careful precision. We can reprogram the satellites to emit these patterns, he said, but we'll need hundreds of them in exactly the right positions. That's being handled, Wright assured him. Captain Daniel Wilson is leading the deployment team. In space, Captain Wilson and his crew worked in complete silence. Their ship, the Nighthawk, was running dark, with minimal power to avoid detection. Wilson was 38, with a reputation for completing impossible missions. He watched through the viewport as his team released another stealth buoy into the cold vacuum. That's number 47, reported his pilot, Lisa Bennett. We're making good progress. Wilson checked the encrypted tablet in his hand. We need all 200 in place before the deadline. Keep going. The buoys were small, barely larger than a basketball, but packed with advanced technology. Once activated, they would help create the illusion that would hopefully save Earth. Back on the planet, Commander Martinez coordinated with civilian teams from every nation. Engineers worked to modify power stations around the globe, connecting them into a single network that could generate a massive synchronized pulse. Will this damage our own systems? Asked the lead engineer, a nervous man from Japan. Dr. Wright has designed protective measures, Martinez explained. Our systems will experience a momentary flicker, nothing more. The Krell won't notice anything until it's too late. The engineer nodded and returned to his work. Martinez checked her watch. 54 hours until the Krell's deadline. In the bio. Lunar Command Center, Admiral Foster enacted strict security protocols. All important orders were now delivered by human couriers rather than electronic communications. It was an old-fashioned approach, but one the Krell couldn't hack. "Our scouts report the Krell are watching all our activities," said Intelligence Officer Reynolds, entering Foster's office with a folder of paper reports. "They see civilian teams working on power systems worldwide." "And what do they make of it?" Foster asked. "According to our best intelligence, they think we're trying to keep basic infrastructure running while we prepare to surrender. They see it as a sign of desperation." Foster allowed himself a small smile. "Good. Let them think that." Dr. Alan Peters, the world's leading expert on alien psychology, had been studying all available data on the Krell. He was a tall man with a soft voice that belied his brilliant mind. "Their greatest weakness is their pride," he told the Security Council during an update meeting. "They've conquered 17 civilizations without a single defeat. They simply can't imagine losing." "How will they react when they realize what we're doing?" asked the council president. Peters considered the question. "Initially with disbelief, then confusion. Their military doctrine doesn't account for defeat. That confusion gives us our window of opportunity." As the hours passed, preparations continued worldwide. Families huddled around news screens, watching as the countdown to the Krell deadline ticked away. Many fled to underground shelters while others stayed in their homes waiting for whatever would come. At the 30-hour mark, Foster called his key team together. "Status report," he said, looking at each face around the table. "Satellite reprogramming is at 90%, reported Lieutenant Hamilton. We'll be ready in 6 hours. 182 buoys deployed," Captain Wilson said. "The final 20 will be in position by tomorrow morning." "The global power grid modifications are complete," Commander Martinez added. "We can generate the pulse whenever needed." Dr. Wright looked tired but satisfied. "The quantum field disruptors are functioning perfectly in tests. Once activated, they'll make the Krell see exactly what we want them to see." Foster nodded. "And our diplomatic team?" "Ready to go," said Laura Bennett, who had been chosen to lead the fake surrender delegation. She was a career diplomat with a poker face that revealed nothing of her true thoughts. "My team knows exactly what to do." "Including the Special Forces members?" Foster asked. Major Frank Carter, a compact man with steady hands and eyes that missed nothing, gave a short nod. "My people are prepared, sir. We've trained for zero-gravity operations extensively." Foster looked around the table once more. "I don't need to tell you what's at stake. If we fail, Earth falls. But I believe in this plan, and I believe in all of you." As the meeting ended, Commander Martinez stayed behind with Foster. "Sir, the Krell have requested another communication," she said. "They want to know if we're preparing to surrender." Foster considered his response carefully. "Tell them we wish to discuss terms. Nothing more." Martinez nodded and left to relay the message. Foster turned to the window, looking out at the stars, and the Krell ships beyond. The plan was risky, depending on perfect timing and execution from multiple teams. If any part failed, the consequences would be devastating. Dr. Wright entered the room quietly, coming to stand beside him. "Having doubts?" she asked. "Only a fool wouldn't," Foster replied. "We're betting the fate of our planet on technology we barely understand." Wright smiled slightly. "That's what humans do best, Admiral. We adapt, we improvise. The Krell have spent centuries conquering through overwhelming force. They've forgotten how to think creatively. And we haven't? Look at what we've accomplished in just 2 days," she said. "Global cooperation on a scale never seen before. Every nation working together toward a common goal. Even if the plan fails, that alone is remarkable." Foster nodded slowly. "When this is over, if we survive, the world will be different." "It already is," Wright said. Their conversation was interrupted by an alert from Foster's communicator. It was a message from the Krell flagship. "They've accepted our request to discuss surrender terms," he read aloud. "They want our delegation to board their flagship tomorrow." Wright's expression grew serious. "Then it's time to put our plan into action." Foster sent out the coded message that would alert all teams. Operation Phantom was entering its final phase. As night fell over Geneva, the people of Earth prepared for their greatest gamble. By this time tomorrow, they would either be celebrating a remarkable victory or facing the end of their world. Either way, humanity would face its destiny, not with surrender, but with one last brilliant act of defiance. The day of the planned surrender arrived. Krell sensors detected unusual movement from Earth's lunar bases and orbital platforms. Their analysts reported this as preparations for the formal surrender process. In reality, it was the final positioning of Dr. Wright's electromagnetic disruptors. Aboard the Lunar Command Center, Admiral Foster watched the diplomatic shuttle launch. Inside was Laura Bennett and her team, including 6 Special Forces operatives under Major Carter's command. They wore formal diplomatic uniforms designed to hide the special devices they carried. "Shuttle Phoenix has launched," reported Commander Martinez. "They will reach the Krell flagship in 20 minutes. Foster nodded. "And the fleet?" "All Earth. Ships are in position, hiding behind the Moon and Mars as planned. Captain Hughes is ready to lead the first strike once the signal is given." Foster checked the time. Everything depended on perfect timing now. "Begin the countdown," he ordered. "Contact Dr. Wright. Tell her to prepare the global energy grid." On Earth, in a fortified bunker beneath the Swiss mountains, Dr. Wright received the message. Her team had been working non-stop, making final adjustments to the equipment that would power their plan. "Start the power-up sequence," she told her engineers. "Remember, we need a gradual build-up, nothing that would alert the Krell to what we're doing." Across the planet, power stations began channeling energy into the modified grid. It looked like normal power distribution to anyone watching, but the energy was being carefully directed toward the coming pulse. The diplomatic shuttle approached the massive Krell flagship, named the Eternal Dominion. It was an enormous vessel, 15 times larger than Earth's biggest ship. Its dark hull was covered with weapons that could destroy entire cities. Inside the shuttle, Laura Bennett briefed her team one last time. "Remember, we need to stretch out the negotiations as long as possible," she said. "Major Carter, your team should wait for my signal before activating your devices." Carter nodded. He and his team looked nervous but determined. They had trained for this mission, knowing it might be a one-way trip. "We're being scanned," reported the shuttle pilot. Bennett smiled calmly. "Just as we expected. The devices are shielded. They won't detect anything unusual." The Krell allowed the shuttle to dock with minimal security scanning. They saw no threat in a small group of humans coming to surrender their planet. Bennett's team was escorted through long corridors to the ship's grand meeting hall. The room was massive, with high ceilings and strange symbols covering the walls. At the center was a large table where Admiral Zarthul waited, surrounded by Krell officers. Zarthul was even more intimidating in person, standing nearly 8 feet tall, with 4 arms and skin that seemed to shift color slightly as he moved. His 4 eyes studied Bennett as she approached. "Welcome aboard the Eternal Dominion," he said, his voice deep and confident. "We are pleased that your species has chosen the path of wisdom rather than destruction." Bennett bowed slightly. "Thank you for receiving us, Admiral. We have prepared formal surrender documents that follow the protocols used in your previous conquests." This was the first part of the plan, showing the Krell that humans had studied their methods and were prepared to follow their established procedures. It appealed to their sense of superiority. "Excellent," said Zarthul. "Let us proceed with the ceremony." Bennett began a long formal speech about Earth's recognition of the Krell's power and humanity's desire to find a peaceful place within the Dominion. As she spoke, her team set down their ceremonial cases on the floor, positioning them precisely as planned. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Wright watched as the power levels approached the threshold. "Energy grid at 80% capacity," reported her chief engineer. "All stations report ready. Hold at 90% until we receive the signal," Wright ordered, "and make sure all our systems are protected for the pulse." In space, Captain Wilson had completed the deployment of the final stealth buoys. His ship now waited in the shadow of Mars, alongside the rest of Earth's small fleet. All buoys report ready, said his systems officer. Lieutenant Hamilton has control of the network. Wilson nodded. Now we wait. Back on the Krell flagship, Bennett was deliberately dragging out the surrender proceedings with questions about terms and conditions. The Krell, believing they had all the time in the world, indulged her. Before I sign the final document, Bennett said, picking up an ornate pen, I must ask about the status of Earth's existing treaties with other worlds. As she asked this seemingly innocent question, she tapped the pen 3 times against the table, the signal to Major Carter. Carter and his team casually reached down to their ceremonial cases, each pressing a hidden button. The devices inside activated, sending out a specific frequency designed to interfere with the ship's internal sensors. At the same moment, Bennett received a small vibration from her communication device, the signal from Foster that Earth was ready. She signed the surrender document with a theatrical flourish, making sure all Krell eyes were on her. As she did, she pressed a concealed button in her sleeve. On Earth, Dr. Wright received the signal. Energy grid to full power, she commanded. Initiate the pulse now. Across the planet, the modified power stations released their energy in a perfectly synchronized wave. The pulse traveled outward through the satellite network, invisible but powerful. When it reached the quantum communication field surrounding the Krell fleet, it didn't destroy them. That would have been impossible with Earth's technology. Instead, it subtly altered their frequencies, just as Wright had planned. To Krell operators throughout the fleet, everything appeared normal. But their communications were now being routed through human-controlled relays hidden in the stealth buoys. On the Lunar Command Center, Lieutenant Hamilton and his team began their most important work. We have control of their communication network, Hamilton reported to Foster, initiating Phase 2. He sent a series of commands through the new network. Suddenly, every Krell ship began receiving false sensor readings, carefully crafted to show exactly what humans wanted them to see. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, alarm signals began blaring. A Krell officer rushed into the ceremony room. Admiral, our sensors are detecting a massive fleet emerging from behind the sun. Zarthul's 4 eyes widened in surprise. What? Show me. As he moved to a nearby screen, Bennett caught Carter's eye and gave a slight nod. Operation Phantom had entered its final phase. Earth's greatest gamble had begun. Chaos erupted aboard the Krell flagship. The main command screen showed thousands of ships appearing from behind the sun, all heavily armed and heading straight for the Krell fleet. Impossible, shouted Admiral Zarthul, his skin changing to a dark purple color that indicated extreme stress. No species could hide a fleet of that size. The Krell officers rushed to their stations, forgetting about the human delegation. Bennett and her team remained calm, standing exactly where they had been placed for the ceremony. Admiral, called a Krell communications officer, the new fleet is not responding to our signals. They appear to be preparing to attack. Zarthul turned to Bennett, his 4 eyes narrowed with anger. What is the meaning of this? You came here to surrender. Bennett kept her face neutral. We are as surprised as you are, Admiral. Perhaps another species has chosen this moment to intervene? This was exactly the response Dr. Peters had suggested. Plant seeds of doubt rather than reveal their plan too soon. Zarthul wasn't convinced. Secure the humans, he ordered, and prepare the fleet for battle. 2 Krell guards moved toward Bennett's team, but before they could reach them, another alarm sounded. Admiral, we have lost contact with the Eastern Battle Group, reported a panicked officer, and our identification systems are detecting unusual patterns. Some ships are showing multiple identification codes. This was Lieutenant Hamilton's work. His team was now feeding false information throughout the Krell network, creating confusion about which ships were friendly and which were enemies. Zarthul barked orders into his communication device. All ships regroup at coordinates Alpha 7. Prepare main weapons for full attack. But the orders that actually went out to his fleet were subtly altered. Instead of regrouping in a defensive formation, Krell ships began moving in different directions, breaking their perfect blockade around Earth. In the Lunar Command Center, Admiral Foster watched the Krell formation beginning to fall apart. It's working, Martinez said with quiet amazement. They're actually breaking formation. Signal Captain Hughes, Foster ordered. Begin Phase 3. In the shadow of Mars, Captain Natalie Hughes received the command. She was 39, with a calm confidence that had earned her the respect of every pilot in Earth's fleet. All ships, this is Captain Hughes, she transmitted to the waiting Earth vessels. Operation Phantom is a go. Remember your targets and stick to the plan. Earth's modest. As dawn broke over major cities around the world, people emerged from shelters to look at the sky. The once threatening Krell fleet was now in complete disarray. Some ships had collided with each other. Others had retreated to distant positions. Many just drifted in space, their systems locked in endless diagnostic loops created by Hamilton's team. In homes across the planet, families watched their screens in amazement as news cameras showed the scattered alien vessels. What had seemed like certain doom just days ago had turned into something no one expected. The mighty Krell fleet, defeated without Earth firing a single planet-destroying weapon. Admiral Foster stood in the Lunar Command Center, looking out at the chaos his people had created. The plan had worked even better than they had hoped. The Krell, so dependent on their advanced technology and perfect coordination, had no defense against an enemy who attacked their communication systems rather than their ships. "Sir," said Commander Martinez, entering with a tablet. "Major Carter reports that his team has secured several key systems aboard the flagship. They've downloaded massive amounts of tactical data." Foster nodded. "And Admiral Zarthul?" "Laura Bennett is still with him. She reports he is not taking this well." Foster allowed himself a small smile. "I imagine not. Open a direct channel to the Eternal Dominion. I think it's time for a different kind of discussion." Aboard the Krell flagship, Admiral Zarthul sat rigidly in his command chair. His skin had turned a pale gray color that his officers had never seen before. Around him, his bridge crew worked frantically to restore their systems, but every fix they tried seemed to make things worse. "Admiral Zarthul," said a voice from the main screen. It was Admiral Foster, speaking from the Lunar Command Center. "Perhaps we should discuss your surrender now." Zarthul's four eyes widened in disbelief. "Surrender? To a primitive species like yours?" "Look around you, Admiral," Foster said calmly. "Your perfect blockade is broken. Your ships are firing on each other. Your planet-destroying weapons are useless without coordination. And we control your communication systems." Bennett stepped forward. "Admiral Zarthul, I should introduce myself properly now. I am not just a diplomat, I am Earth's chief negotiator. I am authorized to offer terms." Zarthul looked from Bennett to Foster on the screen. For the first time in his long career, he faced a reality no Krell had encountered in centuries. Defeat. "What terms?" he asked, his voice strained. Bennett had prepared for this moment with Dr. Peters, the xenopsychologist. They had crafted terms that would appeal to Krell honor, while ensuring Earth's safety. "The Krell Dominion will immediately withdraw all forces from Earth's solar system," she began. "You will recognize our territory as sovereign and independent, never to be threatened again." Zarthul's skin darkened slightly. "And in return?" "In return, we will not share the details of how we defeated you with the other 17 species. You've conquered." This was the masterstroke of Peters's plan, offering the proud Krell a way to save face. If other conquered worlds learned how easily the mighty Krell could be defeated, their entire empire might collapse. For several long moments, Zarthul was silent. Then finally he gave a stiff nod. "Very well. I accept these terms." Within hours, the remaining Krell ships began retreating from Earth's solar system. Some needed help from their own rescue vessels, due to the damage they had suffered. Earth's fleet, still ridiculously outnumbered, watched them go with a mixture of pride and relief. As people around the world celebrated, Admiral Foster addressed an emergency session of the United Nations. "Today marks a new chapter in human history," he said to the assembled representatives of Earth's nations. "We faced an enemy with vastly superior numbers and technology. We should have lost. By all military logic, we should have been conquered or destroyed." The room was silent as Foster continued. But the Krell made one critical mistake. They expected us to fight the way they fight. They never considered that our greatest strength isn't in our weapons, but in our ability to think differently when faced with impossible odds. Dr. Wright, sitting in the audience, smiled as Foster acknowledged her team's contribution to the victory. Lieutenant Hamilton, Captain Wilson, Commander Martinez, Dr. Peters, Laura Bennett, and Major Carter were all recognized for their crucial roles in the operation. This victory belongs to all of humanity, Foster concluded. For the first time in our history, every nation, every people worked together toward a common goal. We set aside our differences and found strength in our diversity of thought and approach. In the days that followed, Earth began to change. The united effort against the Krell had shown what was possible when humans worked together. Old conflicts seemed less important in the face of what they had accomplished. Dr. Wright's discoveries led to major technological advancements. The quantum communication principles she had learned from studying the Krell were adapted for human use, leading to faster-than-light communication systems. Commander Martinez established a new division of the Earth Defense Force, specializing in unconventional space warfare tactics. "We may never match other species in firepower," she explained to her new recruits, "but we will outthink them every time." Captain Wilson's stealth technology became the foundation for Earth's new defensive network. Rather than building bigger weapons, humanity focused on detection and evasion systems that would give them early warning of any future threats. On the one-year anniversary of what came to be known as the Phantom Victory, Laura Bennett addressed the graduating class of the new Earth Defense Academy. "The Krell taught us an important lesson," she told the young officers. "Throughout the galaxy, there will always be species with more advanced technology or greater numbers. But no weapon is more powerful than a creative mind. No fleet is stronger than people united for a common cause." As Earth began reaching out to the stars with new confidence, rumors spread throughout the galaxy of the small blue planet that had defeated the mighty Krell Dominion. Other species, some still under Krell control, looked to Earth with new hope. And in the far reaches of space, Admiral Zarthul reported to the Krell High Command that Earth should be avoided at all costs. He didn't share the humiliating details of his defeat, but he did offer one observation that was entered into the permanent records of the Dominion. "Beware the species that thinks differently. Their strength lies not in their weapons, but in their minds." As Earth's new ships began exploring the solar system and beyond, they carried a new motto on their hulls, a reminder of the lesson humanity had learned from their first encounter with alien life. "Our greatest weapon is how we think."